So being stopped by the police is something that I obviously knew was going to happen now that I was a driver, but for it to happen in less than 24 hours, I wasn't expecting that at all. Like, I wasn't expecting that at all. Hey guys, it's a girl G, and I am back with another story time of how the police were on my case less than 24 hours after I got my driver's license. Like, guys, I mean, you can imagine how terrified I was. So yeah, it was so first of all, this driving journey, it began after high school, and I started going to this other driving school, of which I'm not going to mention the name because I wasn't entirely happy with them. So I started going to that driving school, and then I wrote my theory test, and then I went for my yard test where you have to enter those cones. In other countries they use drums, but we use cones. So, and then afterwards, if I could go for the road test or anything else, I had to relocate to go study. So everything just, and then everything just went down the drain because the provisional expired in like 6 months or 1 year. So it expired before I could go back home to finish. A few years down the line, I went back home, and this time around I was ready to get my license because there's nothing that hurts as having to use public transport when the cars are just parked there. And guys, you know, the public transport back home, it's hectic. It's hectic. You know, it's different from these developed countries where, you know, it's actually much more convenient to use a subway and what. But back home, we don't have subways. You know, we have these, what do you call them? These combis or mini buses and what. And then the worst part is you have to stop when it's a stop. And like here where everything is automated, like, you know, I get bus number 23 and then it's gonna take me to my stop. Once it stops there, I get out and I don't have to stop it myself. But back home you have to scream. Imagine sitting in the back seat trying to stop a public transport. I hated that, guys. Anyways, so I had to get my license. So because that driving school which I mentioned earlier was the one closest to home, it was like a walking distance, I had to go back to that same place. But this time I had a very different strategy. So I used to get the cars at home and practice, you know, in the neighborhood, not going into the main road. And I remember some days I'd get the car, then one of my younger sisters follows me, and then my mom will find out that I've left. And then she'll actually follow us, you know, because I'd only be driving like gear number 1, number 2 in the neighborhood because I really couldn't change to 3. It was hard. It's like I'm trying to balance the clutch and then change to 3, and then ta-da, the car goes off. The struggle was real, but then eventually I managed. I learned, I mean, obviously. So yeah, my mom would follow us. Like, she'd be like, where did she go with the kids? And then I'm like, what? My mom would ask my dad, would be asking my dad, like, what if they crash? And then my dad would be like, a person can crash with gear number 2, you know, those kind of things. And then it's not like there were police and everything because I was just in the neighborhood, and I wasn't in the main road also because I wasn't trying to harm other people. This time my dad also saw that I was really serious, so he would help me out when I told him I was now stuck on gear number 2, and then eventually I caught up number 3. So by the time I go to the driving school, the instructor would just be slow, taking time. It was really annoying. And then I'm like, dude, I'm ready. He'd be like, you're not. So one day I just woke up and I gave the driving instructor, because it was faster for if a driving instructor books for you to write the theory test instead of booking yourself. So the instructor books the theory test for me, and then I had the book, and I was just there, like, I just went through it overnight, like one night before writing, and then the next day I went to write, and then I passed, obviously, of which I know for some people it takes time, but for me I was just lucky that I just understood everything fast, and yeah, I passed the theory test. And yeah, I think I'll attach a picture here on the side, or when I actually passed the theory test. And then after passing the theory test, now I had to go for the yard test, and now this was the tricky part because the bookings were really hard to get. So I eventually managed to get the booking, and then I went for the yard test, and then I also passed it. And now I had been preparing for the road test for the longest time ever, and now, so the good thing is that, you know, we already know that it depends on where you take your test. So you usually already know that you are gonna go this route. So it was convenient to practice, like knowing that, okay, this is the way I'm gonna use. So I'll go and practice on the same route, and then ta-da, I passed. So I went the next time to get my picture, my license, and collected it. And then now, just because I had a license didn't mean that I had to I could freely move, move around with the car. My parents were like, no, I have to move with an adult for at least, they said 14 days before they could officially say I can move on my own. And so the thing was that I'll wake up like around 4 5 before there was so much traffic, and then go around with my dad, and then going like to major roads, going to malls because we had a mall near our house, so learning how to park, parallel parking, all those kind of things. So yeah. So one morning we wake up, and then we pass by the service station because there's like one close to our house. So we passed by, and then there was this police car. So I'm there, it was kind of cold, so I'm in my hoodie, wearing like the hoodie jacket, and then my dad is the passenger, and then we're driving, and then so there's a 4-way getting out of the filling station. So of course he was there, he was telling me to stop because I knew, so I stopped, and then when it was my turn to go, I left, and then after leaving we had beep beep beep. We're like, oh, whatever, who is this? And I was even scared to look at the mirror, but I did check, and then so was the police. And I kept on moving. Then they went, so the police now start coming after us, and then I pulled out to the roadside, and then there were 2 people, a man and a woman. Then the woman comes to the driver's side, of which I was always looking forward to these moments where I would the window, and then I'm like, oh hey, blah blah blah, those kind of things. So the lady comes. That time I'm panicking. I'm like, what have I done? What have I done? But I did stop. Now I'm talking to my dad while these people are walking towards the car. Then the lady comes. She's like, how old are you? I'm like, huh? She's like, I said, how old are you? And then I told her my age. She was like, hey, really? So I don't know if she assumed I was, because there were the police in the wood. I don't know if she assumed I was my little sister or what, or I just looked super younger. I don't know. So she stops us, and then she says, where's your license? That time is like less than 24 hours old. And then I take my small wallet, I pull it out, I'm like, here. I was like, oh, it's new. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm driving now before there's traffic, so that I can practice, And then it's like, oh, okay. And then we just started talking afterwards, and then they left. So basically I was stopped because they thought I was too young to be a driver. They thought I was like under 18. That time I was like way past 18. And yeah, so afterwards it took me like just a few more days going around with my dad, and just like, you know what, if I just go on your own, just be careful. And I'm just happy to say that I've never been in an accident, and I'll never be in one, God willing me. And so I started going around on my own, and yeah, sometimes it was hard to park, parallel parking, guys. It was really hectic. It was hectic. And yeah, and also the reason why my dad was going around with me is because the car that I was driving was like manual. It wasn't the automatic. Because after I got the license, they're like, there's no use of me going around in an automatic, because I was gonna forget the gears. So I had to drive the manual, which I think is really good. And also with the fact that I do aspire to to go drive some racing cars in the future. And also I'm just that one person who, like, if I learn something, then I have to learn it to the fullest. If there's like an automatic, it's fine, but if there's a manual, I also want to learn how to do the manual. It's like teaching a child mathematics, right? You teach them that 1 + 1 = 2 on paper, even if they'll not get a calculator and punch it and get 2, but you have to teach them the formula, right? So that's why I'm actually grateful that they actually proceeded to teach me and having me master those gears, balancing the clutch. So yeah, and guys, man must know how to balance a clutch. If you don't know how to balance a clutch, get off my inbox. Just kidding. Anyways, so this is what happened when I stopped by the police, and this is the end of the story time. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have any other story time suggestions you want to hear from me, like I have plenty of them, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll be sure to narrate the stories to you. And if you have been stopped by the police or got into trouble with the law or almost because they thought maybe you were a type of person that you were not, or you were underage or something like that, let us know in the comment section down below. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye.